Okay, greetings everyone. I'm Mohammed Hussein. I'm professor of electrical engineering at Purdue University. And on behalf of BRAINSTEM, our virtual network to have the Bangladeshi rooted academics who are working on STEM in different North American institutions, we are delighted to welcome Dr. Khandker Nazrul Kader. Khandker Nazrul Kader is going to talk about something which we have identified as one of the strategic areas where Bangladesh can potentially look into, and hopefully we can make a space for the Bangladesh there. We do have Dr. Kader with us, and because of he has accomplished in his career, and I'm going to actually just put a spotlight on a few pointers there. So Dr. Kader, he completed his bachelor's in electrical engineering and in physics from MIT, his master's in electrical engineering from Georgia Tech, and his PhD in electrical engineering from University of California, Berkeley. He is an IEEE senior life member and a 40-year semiconductor industry veteran. He worked for Intel Corporation for SRAM, non-volatile memory NVM, and IBM for DRAM, and early in his career. In 1995, he joined SanDisk Corporation, which is pioneer in semiconductor mass storage, located in Silicon Valley, California. He worked almost for 18 years at SanDisk and served eventually as the senior vice president of global memory organization. His responsibilities included R&D, including fab-related R&D, memory technology development, memory chip design, and advanced architectures, product development, vertical integration, advanced memory systems, and corporate strategy. He built SanDisk NAND organization from ground zero and played a key and vital role in leading SanDisk and Toshiba joint development, which is regarded as one of the most successful joint developments in the history of semiconductor industry. While leading R&D and product development at SanDisk, he played a key and pioneering role and has been instrumental in the R&D and productization of industry's first groundbreaking multi-level multi-bit NAND, three-dimensional NAND, and NOR flash memories, then led to the explosive growth of NAND flash memory. I think pretty much every one of us today, we are very much using NAND flash memory. Today, in 2022, it was the $55 billion business, and it's projected to be $120 billion in 2031. And SSD industry he paved the way for the data revolution, enabled fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, analytics, and IoT. He left SanDisk in 2013 and joined SK Hynix Memory Solutions, a US subsidiary of SK Hynix, as CEO and president. In 2018, he joined Sunrise Memory, early stage startup, as chief technology officer and executive vice president to develop new emerging three-dimensional non-volatile memory, or the NVM, for data revolution enabled IoE or Internet of Everything era. In April 2020, he left Sunrise Memory and is currently an independent consultant. So having said that, I would like to welcome again Dr. Kader, and he will be presenting for approximately 50 minutes. Meanwhile, we are requesting everyone to keep your mic turned off, and please keep posting your questions in the chat box, and we will be receiving and we'll be presenting all these questions to Dr. Kader after his talk. So Dr. Kader, thank you again, and please, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the detailed introduction. So the talk today will be Semiconductor and Data Revolution Enabled Fourth Industrial Revolution. And in light of that, what the Bangladesh vision, strategy, and opportunities needs to be, and then we'll discuss further on it. This is still, some of the thoughts are still in early stage, so bear with me when I talk about that aspect of it. So I wanted to start off with a few interesting quotes. Put a tool in the hands of an engineering student and that student will learn a whole new way of looking at engineering problems and possible solutions. Leonardo da Vinci once mentioned that there are three types of people: those who see when they're shown, those who do not see. And there is a quote from Robert F. Kennedy that I've always found inspiring. Some men see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were. So I'll start off with the outline, first stating that the semiconductors disrupt industries, and iPhone 12 is about 5,000 times faster than Cray 2 supercomputer. I'll give a few examples of the Bengali scientists' contributions, then some key inventions and the fourth industrial revolution. Touch base a little bit on the background and my personal experience, then talk about global semiconductor landscape, the data and AI revolution, and then move in the second part of the talk to lessons learned from successful nations and thoughts on building Bangladesh for IR-oriented semiconductor sector. So Bengali polymath Sir Jagdish Chandra Bosu was first to apply semiconductors for very practical purposes. In 1901, he was awarded the first patent for semiconductor device in the world, and that was for galena detector. Satyendra Nath Bose, head of physics department and dean of science faculty at Dhaka University, was the one who provided the foundation for Bose-Einstein statistics. And Paul Dirac and Albert Einstein named bosons after him. And to talk about Bangladeshis more recently recognized in the world, Dr. Saif Salahuddin, electrical engineering professor at UC Berkeley. He has been a pioneer in ferroelectric materials and device and developed low power nanoscale electronic and spintronic devices. He received a prestigious PCAS award from President Obama. And then Dr. Zahid Hassan, professor of physics at Princeton University, he received the prestigious 2020 Ernest Orlando Lawrence Award for groundbreaking discoveries in topological insulators, topological magnets, and well conductors. Since 2014, he has been listed in the world's most influential scientific minds list. And then there are many of our professors and people in the professional world have contributed significantly to various aspects in the world. And I listed a few that are from various industries. Now let's talk about three key inventions that have shaped the semiconductors. First is a transistor. Americans John Bardeen, William Shockley, and Walter Brattain received the Nobel Prize in 1956 for the invention of the transistor, which then has been called the most important invention of the 20th century. Muhammad Atallah from Egypt and Dawan Kang from South Korea, while they were working at Bell Labs, invented the MOSFET in 1959. And then the integrated circuits was invented by Kilby and Noyce in 1958, and Kilby received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2000 for integrated circuits. This humble transistor has really changed the world. This was a slide that was presented by Intel in IDM 2023. Intel was the first company to commercialize a 3D transistor called FinFET in 2011. And they called it the most radical shift in semiconductor technology in over 50 years. Professor Chin-Ming Hu of UC Berkeley has been called the father of the 3D transistor for developing the FinFET in 1999. A Kaufman Award, which he received in 2013, noted his tremendous career of creativity and innovation that fueled the past 4 decades of the semiconductor industry. The second is the DRAM. In 1968, Dennard of IBM received the patent for one transistor DRAM. And then in 1970s, it was brought to market and then has And as it gradually increased the capacity, then its foundational technology became an indelible part of our society. Today, the highest capacity DRAM is a 32 gigabit on 12 nanometer. In 2024, the DRAM market is 120 billion and is projected to be about 200 billion by 2030. The next is the non-volatile memory. In 1967, Kang and Z, working at Bell Telephone Labs, invented the floating gate memory device. And then in 1976, Dr. Eli Harari, while at Hughes Electronics, filed for first practical E-square PROM using a thin silicon dioxide and using Fowler-Nodham tunneling for programming and erase. Dr. Harari in 1988 founded SanDisk Corporation that played a key and pivotal role in the explosive growth of flash memory industry. He has been recognized for transformative innovations for flash memory and inducted in National Inventor Hall of Fame in 2017. Fujio Masuoka, while working at Toshiba, invented the flash memory using the Fowler-Nodham tunneling, both the NOR and the NAND type. The NAND market in 2024 is 67 billion and is projected to be about 100 billion by 2030. Now let's talk about the fourth industrial revolution, because it's very important that we understand the depth and breadth of this fourth industrial revolution, because that pertains to how we position Bangladesh in the coming decades. The third industrial revolution used electronics and information technology. The fourth industrial revolution, which sometimes is called the digital revolution, is really a fusion of technologies such as AI, robotics, genetic engineering, and this is blurring the lines between physical, digital, and biological spheres. It is really evolving at an exponential rate and disrupting almost every industry. The breadth and depth of the changes are really transforming entire systems of production, management, and governance. Like there are billions of people that are connected by mobile devices, but these are with unprecedented processing power, storage capacity, and the access to knowledge. And all of these are created unlimited possibilities, and those possibilities are expected to be multiplied by various emerging breakthroughs in fields such as Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing, material science, biotechnology, autonomous vehicle, healthcare. And these are now creating a perfect storm as is paving the way for transformative changes in the way we live, and is radically disrupting almost every business sector. But all of this is happening at a really unprecedented pace. Now let's talk a little bit about Internet of Things, or sometimes called IoE. So there are four things that really are the critical components of this IoE: people, data, process, and things. People, insights, and experience generate data that is collected and stored and then is retrieved and converted. And the conversion really can be compute, algorithms, analytics, and AI. And that then generates solutions, which would be called things, that connect devices to internet and to each other. And we as people use all those solutions. And then it's a feedback process. So, and all of this results in massive collection of data that is collected, stored, and processed. And semiconductor is a key enabler of this IoE, and it is pretty much transforming all the industries. Bangladesh's people's insight. So we have a very large population. So that insight can generate significant amount of data. And then if we build the right solutions and infrastructure, then the semiconductor-enabled things can drive local needs, and that can then drive economic development and employment. However, Bangladesh really needs to educate, train, and build infrastructure for Bangladesh-specific IoT. Sometimes we get caught up with providing design services and a few other things that does not really serve the local market. It really provides solutions for corporations outside of Bangladesh. So what is very important to understand is that the companies that create products that fit into a world of smarter devices, services, and ecosystems will really be the dominant force in the coming decades. So what Bangladesh really needs is a multidisciplinary, product-oriented task force to develop vision, education, infrastructure, and market development that will drive various industries targeted for domestic needs. Now let's talk about a few key drivers for the fourth industrial revolution. First is in the list is artificial intelligence. John McCarthy, a prominent computer scientist, coined the term AI in a Dartmouth conference, and he received the Turing Award in 1971 for his artificial intelligence contributions. And this year, the Physics Nobel Prize was given to Dr. Hoffield of Princeton University and Dr. Hinton of University of Toronto for foundational discoveries and inventions that enable machine learning and artificial neural networks. Neuromorphic engineering has gained prominence. It's a combination of chip expertise, physics, mathematics, biology, computer science, and that has created an environment for new revolutionary ideas. Carver Mead of Caltech is called the father of neuromorphic engineering. He created the world's first neural-inspired chips. The next is quantum computing. David Deutsch of Oxford University's Theoretical Physics Department is widely known as the father of quantum computing. Richard Feynman is known for his memorable words in 2012, where he said, nature isn't classical, and if you want to make a simulation of nature, you'd better make it quantum mechanical. So by harnessing quantum mechanical property of superposition, quantum computing really has the ability to solve complex problems that would be a result of many variables, uncertainties, and permutations. In 2019, Google and NASA ran computation to generate true random numbers. Quantum computing was able to do it in a few seconds, but based on estimates, an advanced supercomputer would need thousands of years. And then there are these emerging technologies, new materials like gallium nitride, emerging non-volatile memory, advanced fabrication techniques like 3D chips, copper-to-copper hybrid bonding will provide opportunities that will create smaller, faster, more efficient solutions for various IoT devices. Now, having mentioned all of that, I'll touch base a little bit about my experience and personal journey. Some of it is related to key enablers for NAND flash memory. So flash memory is everywhere, and Dr. Mustafa mentioned at the beginning. And it has been a disruptive force, the flash memory revolution. As you can see, from the camera films to magnetic drives, flash memory has really replaced all of it to a great extent. And today, it is an enabling factor for data centers, AI, automotive, Internet of Things, and big data. There has been a 2000x density increase in 25 years, 1 million x cost reduction in 25 years. But semiconductor memories is expected to be 30% of worldwide semiconductor revenue. It's expected to be 300 billion by 2030. And this is why it's very critical we understand this aspect of semiconductor memories as part of our Bangladesh vision. Otherwise, we are missing out on the 300 billion revenue part of being $300 billion revenue opportunity. And let's take a look at the various key enablers of the flash memory technology. One of them is multi-level storage. Normally, a memory stores one bit of information. However, using innovative advanced architectures, advanced device algorithms, and dramatic performance enhancement, flash memory has moved from 1 bit to 2 bits to 3 bits to 4 bits. And all of these have been really key innovations that occurred at SanDisk. And the part of this multi-level aspect of things is that as you go to more bits, the distance between adjacent voltage levels is significantly shorter. As you can see, from 1 bit where you have 2 states to 4 bits where you have 16 states, the distance between these states become dramatically smaller and smaller. And what happens is that noise and statistical behavior leads to many potential areas because you now have overlapping of states, and you have to figure out a way to solve that overlapping aspect. NAND and NAND solutions really then require multidisciplinary considerations. It's a joint work of device physicists, chip design and architecture, process innovations, coding theory, communication theory, digital signal processing, advanced algorithms, and advanced system architecture. So the next is the transition from 2D NAND to 3D NAND. So the NAND has been the first technology to really do a 3D structure. So the last generation of 2D NAND was 14 to 15 nanometer, and it was a 128 gigabit chip with 3 bits per cell. However, there were scaling challenges which limited any further scalability of 2D NAND. In 2007, Toshiba introduced BICS, which is called bits cost scalable structure, which is shown on the right side. But it was not until when the density reached 256 gigabit that Toshiba and SanDisk jointly introduced with 64 layers. And each layer is considered that layers are stacking in the vertical direction. So you have stacking of vertical transistors in the Z dimension. So this was, and at that time it crossed over the cost structure of 2D NAND. So then currently what we have is a 2 terabit 3D NAND with 256 layers and 4 bits per cell. 500 layers is in R&D, and 1,000 layers is expected around 2028. So these were the key enablers: MLC, 2D NAND to 3D NAND, and innovative architecture and device algorithms. Now, touch base a little bit. I've been involved quite a bit through all these years on this NAND aspect of things. Bulk of my career is in semiconductor memory solutions, and memory-centric computing. And for this 2 bits per cell, 3 bits per cell, and 4 bits per cell, while we were at SanDisk, we received my team received the ISSCC Best Paper Awards for all the papers presented on them. So Mustafa has covered bulk of the background, so I'll touch base a little bit about my early days when I was doing my bachelor's at MIT. My bachelor's thesis was on a totally different area. It was on space charge effects in dielectric fluids. And then when I went to do my master's at Georgia Tech, I took a series of courses on digital signal processing. Georgia Tech was really among the top at that time in digital signal processing. However, I took a couple of courses from a professor called John Uemura. He actually has passed away. And that really motivated me and encouraged me in the field of semiconductor. I took a series of courses from him in device physics, process technology, design architectures. And then after finishing my master's, I went to UC Berkeley. I went to work for Intel, and then I went to do my PhD in electrical engineering and focused on semiconductors. And I did my PhD under Professor Chin-Ming Hu. So that gives you a perspective on my background and experience. And then from UC Berkeley, I joined IBM for some time, worked on DRAM. and then went on to work for SanDisk for bulk of my career. My advisor, Chin Ming Hu, mentioned after I had joined SanDisk that this is the best match for you because it's a combination of device physics and design, and non-volatile memory requires a strong interaction between all those disciplines. Now I'll talk about the global semiconductor landscape. The global semiconductor market is expected to reach $1 trillion in 2023 compared to about $343 billion in 2015. And as you can see from this slide, for the next few years, it is projected to grow at a phenomenal rate. And it is really fueled by relentless scaling of logic technologies and advances in computing, data storage expansion, and various emerging non-volatile memory technologies, advances in sensor technology, data analytics, neuromorphic cognitive computing, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing. The technology innovation is the primary driving force for the semiconductor industry, and we need to keep this in mind as we think through Bangladesh vision. And it is also fueling the data-enabled Internet of Everything. This really shows the technology innovations during the last couple of decades, with bandwidth has increased by 6x, the performance and 10x improvement, and power 10x improvement. And it is also fueled by the explosive growth of NAND flash, DRAMs, and emerging NVM. And this shows the growth of the memory and storage market over the years. And on the right side of this, you can see that the DRAM cell, which used to be more planar, a single transistor now has to be, it really results in a vertical structure, although it's still a single transistor. On the right is shown a 3D NAND, which is really stacking vertical transistors one by one in the vertical direction. And this is a very cumbersome and very tricky process. And in 3D NAND architecture, in addition to the memory vendors, the semiconductor equipment manufacturers played a very critical role in figuring out how do you really stack transistors in the vertical direction. In particular, how do you etch through and still maintain uniformity and device physics characteristics of the memory transistors. So Bangladesh vision, strategy, education, and research institutions really need to align to this reality in order to position itself properly in the coming decades. This shows you a bit of the trend of the semiconductor market. And this trend is now dramatically different than what was the trend, what were the trends in the third industrial revolution. So the key drivers are AI, automotive, robotics, and Bangladesh education ecosystem really needs to get a better understanding of all these key drivers and shape its strategy and vision, taking these into consideration. I'll not spend too much time on this slide, but it just shows that the key areas of interesting growth is in MOS memory, analog, and special purpose logic. Then we have to be really very cognizant of the fact that the sensors and software plays a very important role. And this slide shows the massive growth in semiconductor software and in sensors. So the sensor market for IoT is projected to be about 115 billion in 2025 compared to just 28 billion in 2015. And then, and these sensors are the ones which collects the data that then are part of this data revolution. The strong growth of semiconductors in the IoT device is driven by the need for more data. However, what do you do with the data? You have to really generate proper values for this data. And semiconductor software is a critical enabler of the Internet of Things. And to keep in mind, semiconductor software does not require massive investments that other aspects of semiconductor requires. So now I will shift gears and talk about data. And as you can see on the left side of this slide, the global data sphere, which is defined as the sum of all data created, captured, and replicated in a given year, is rising exponentially. Data is, some people call data is replacing oil as the most valuable resource, and it is driving economic transformation using information and data. So data now has become really critical to all aspects of our life in the last 3 decades. It has changed how we are educated and entertained. It is informing us the way we experience people, business, and the world around us. It unlocks unique user experiences and various new business opportunities. And it is also fueled by the growth of NAND flash because you need storage and high performance storage. And then we'll see in a later slides, emerging NVMs are becoming critical for this. There's an interesting quote from someone, I forget who: "We're drowning in sea of data in era of information explosion." So, however, data in the past really was driving business operations, but today it is a vital element in all aspects of our life. In the Internet of Things will create millions of new objects and sensors, but all of these will generate real-time data. So big data and storage technologies are really essential to collect, analyze, and store this huge volume of data. As devices, and so, however, data, if you want to turn it into money, you need decisions. So for those decisions, you really need to have processing power and data analytics for vital data utilization. However, as devices get more connected and which results in a huge amount of data, there is an issue regarding privacy and security concerns. So individuals, government, businesses would really need to find a real balance between the consumer privacy in this world of IoE data. Now let's touch base a little bit on the AI revolution. So AI is really a specific branch of computer science that involves replicating the thought process and decision-making ability of human beings through computer algorithms. And I'll sidetrack a little bit. Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, a Persian scientist and mathematician, was in about 1,000 years ago, was the first to invent the concept of algorithms. The word algorithm really comes from the Latinized version of his name. So artificial intelligence is now an indispensable part of our lives. Specialized hardware like neuromorphic chips, artificial intelligence capabilities can now be embedded into IoT devices, and this enables that at the edge of the network, and it enables on-device data processing and intelligent decision making. And the semiconductor industry has really embraced the AI revolution. And for this, the memory device is one of the key. However, AI is computational and data intensive. And this really poses various challenges to current AI systems. For example, data access is orders of magnitude more costly than computer operations. I'll explain this in the next slide. The Van Neumann computing, which is where the processor and the memory are located separately, are done separately in 2 different chips and then interconnected. However, this poses problem. A compute operation the energy is only about 3 picojoules. But when you have to access data off chip, it's about 640 nanojoules, which is about 200x more than just a compute operation. So as you move lots of data from large arrays of memory, this adds a significant cost compared to computation. So, however, on top of it, the AI requires lots of compute and lots of data. So you really need to figure out a way to reduce the compute energy. And as one of the solution is a high bandwidth DRAM, which is a high capacity, high bandwidth solution. And on the right side, bottom right, you see a structure where DRAMs are stacked vertically, one chip on top of the other, and connected to a large number of IOs using through silicon via. And then right next to it is located the processing unit, and which is connected through silicon interposer. This results in very close proximity between the memory and the processing unit. And on top of it, you can dramatically increase the number of IOs, because bandwidth is number of IOs multiplied by the pin speed. So since you can dramatically increase the number of IOs, you can now reduce the pin speed. So, and the result is a much lower amount of energy that you need to really access the memory or access the data. The next solution is in-memory computing. There is a significant amount of research that is ongoing to develop newer memory technologies, in particular newer non-volatile memory technologies that can do computation within the memory. But that requires new ways of really coming up with memory structures. And some of it involves material science, some of it involves device physics, processing techniques. And to highlight what this is all about, as you can see on the top right, that in the very first picture is the processor, which has the compute functions. And then you have to go back and forth with the memory to really access the data, compute, store it, come back again. However, if you can now figure out a memory where the compute is part of the memory structure itself, so in that case, you have really reduced dramatically the amount of data transfer between the processing unit and the memory itself. And the next thing is the role of NAND flash. It is now really moving from it used to be a storage in the shadow of DRAM. It is moving more into increased roles in computing. So we'll now look at the compute part of the AI revolution and a brief history of computers. Charles Babbage, he was an English mathematician, is often called the father of computer. And then Ada Lovelace, also an English mathematician, was the first to generate a computer program. So solving the AI compute issues really requires moving beyond Van Neumann computing. So there are a lot of efforts in memory-centric, data-centric computing, neuromorphic computing, and quantum computing. And quantum computing is based on laws of quantum mechanics and various quantum mechanical considerations for the data operations. So by using superposition and entanglement properties, it can really leverage its ability to process vast amounts of data simultaneously. And when you have multiple qubits, computational capacity rises exponentially. Just to give you a perspective, atom computing has demonstrated 1,180 qubits very recently, and it uses neutral atoms trapped by lasers in a two-dimensional grid. And IBM is now targeting 100,000 qubits by 2033. And another benefit of quantum computers is that it could be an enabling technology for the development of artificial general intelligence. Artificial general intelligence bringing the human emotions and various aspects of the human minds into the artificial intelligence that is currently being pursued. So now we'll shift gear and go and discuss about the Bangladesh semiconductor ecosystems and infrastructure. And the first part is to discuss about the lessons learned from nations that has transformed themselves. So I'll first highlight the aspect of the US semiconductor industry. There are significant aspects of things that the US feels that they are starting to fall behind. or lacking the talent pipelines. So in the next 5 years, the estimate is that there will be a minimum of about 50,000 trained semiconductor engineers that will be needed in US to really build up the R&D capabilities, in particular in areas of AI-oriented chip development, and also to rebuild lost chip manufacturing. Purdue University, and I think it's been a few years when it launched the nation's first comprehensive semiconductor degree program. And that really is a broad partnership, and the advisory board consists of both industry, senior executives, and academics. Technology leadership requires 4 critical things: research and development intensity, R&D personnel, and number of scientific publications, and number of patent applications. If you look at this is a chart that shows the R&D as a expenditure, R&D as a share of GDP. As you can see, South Korea has really has been spending a fair amount of money in R&D compared to other nations, which has also been spending quite a bit, like China, and the US has probably the highest amount, but their growth is really very interesting, and I'll share a little bit more on South Korea. 60 years back, majority of the people were in poverty. Today, it's world's most innovative country and one of the top 10 economies in the world. However, you have to consider that it is trapped between low-cost China and Japan's high-tech capital-intensive industries. However, there was massive Korean government investment in local advanced R&D. They invested huge into education system and build world-class infrastructure. There is now a concentration of highly skilled science and technology graduates, and then homegrown industries were built by this community and built market-creating innovations. Korean chaebols, which are local dynastic multinational corporations, transferred the nation's economy. However, the secret sauce has been the strong collaboration between government, corporations, research institutes like KAIST, and I'll talk a little bit more on KAIST later. If you look at the top 2 charts, the first one on the left is China's first university degrees of various nations. But you can see China has really dramatically increased its first university degree graduates. And on the right is the value-added high-tech manufacturing. Here also you can see China really has dramatically increased its efforts in high-tech manufacturing. So what used to be made in China has been transformed into designed in China through massive investment in education research institutes, emergence of Chinese universities geared for the modern IoE. What was interesting is when I used to visit China quite often as part of SanDisk, and I used to always take the opportunity to visit various Chinese universities. What struck me was their faculties and students engaged in advanced research, but the English-speaking capability was significantly better. I could not even detect the normal problems we used to face when you interfaced with Chinese researchers or students. The key factors that have contributed to China's growing technology capacity is first the domestic market and the large-scale investments by government, tax concessions, access to bank loans, and infrastructure that promote not just one particular aspect of technology, but diverse emerging technologies. And then phenomenal success in various high-tech manufacturing. But one word of caution, the last 20 years, China has invested over 100 billion in semiconductor chip manufacturing, but so far it has failed to achieve its goals, although it achieved some limited success. The China strategy in the IoE era, it has embarked on an unprecedented effort in investments in universities and companies to master artificial intelligence. Last year, there was an article or an analyst report which says 6 of the top AI universities in the world are from China. So AI has the potential to really greatly expand economy and create wealth. However, any strategy of Bangladesh semiconductor sector really needs to comprehend the nuances of the semiconductor-enabled IoE era. I'll touch a little bit on India, its education and research institutes. In 1946, that's based on recommendation by Sarkar Committee to Ministry of Education, 4 higher technical institutions were, but they were built on the model of MIT in USA. The goal was to produce highly skilled undergraduates and postgraduates and engage in world-class research. And they have been very successful with this effort. This visionary strategy really resulted in a dramatic shift in the capabilities of India's high tech, and India now has a potential to be among leaders in the world. Again, one word of caution and lesson learned: technology outsourcing has been India's only reliable job creator in the past 3 decades. But now, this is a quote from Samat Subramaniam, that now artificial intelligence threatens to wipe out these gains. And when we think through Bangladesh, we need to be very careful about this. So as Bangladesh develops its IoE era semiconductor vision and strategy, it needs to build infrastructure, advanced semiconductor-enabled IoE research centers, think tanks, and then educate, train, and build its workforce by really taking lessons for all the various nations that have been successful. In particular, South Korea, and I'll touch base again on South Korea in my next section. The key factor is how Bangladesh adapts and leverages AI to complement rather than replacing existing skills. Now I'll talk about the thoughts on building Bangladesh for IR-oriented semiconductor sector. So Bangladesh is exploring building a multi-billion-dollar semiconductor sector. The IoE era does provide unique opportunities and be part of the projected $1 trillion semiconductor industry. However, education, infrastructure, investments, and private sector needs razor-sharp focus on data revolution, semiconductor-enabled IoE era, and then at the same time, it needs to be based on models that are not based on past growth, but otherwise the scope will be limited and will not really achieve the goals. Workforce has to be educated and trained, and then if we can invest in AI education, infrastructure, and build multidimensional R&D capabilities, it can really position itself as a hub for innovation, and then it can attract investments and the talents, can attract investments and grow the talents, and then it can unlock new opportunities for socio-economic development. Again, I wanted to share a bit more on South Korea. As I mentioned, it was the poorest countries 5 or 6 decades ago, and is now one of the most innovative countries. But the foundation's key for this phenomenal success was highly talented manpower development in science and technology, advancement of basic and applied research. And it does provide a shining example for a nation like Bangladesh with similar aspirations. Shung Chul Shin, he was one of the key drivers of this KAIST Institute. He was the ex-president of KAIST. KAIST is Korean Advanced Institute for Science and Technology. He cites 3 key driving forces: visionary leaders, innovative plans, and passionate people. It was established in 1971 with a special law, and it is considered to be the single most key factor for South Korea's transformation. It championed development of talent pool, and through its relentless efforts in advancement of multi-dimensional R&D, it was able to build the backbone of South Korea's transformation. There are really striking similarities between Bangladesh's aspiration and South Korea's transformation goals in the 1960s. So the first thing I wanted to share my thoughts is on the Bangladesh semiconductor-oriented education system, because success at Bangladesh to reach these multi-billion-dollar revenues by 2050 is very intimately connected to reforms in our education systems, starting from secondary school. Education system really needs urgent alignment to the fourth industrial revolution oriented Internet of Things. We need introduction of courses related to modern semiconductors that will educate students for all engineering, not all engineering, and not just engineering, but basic sciences and also economics, mathematics, biological sciences. It needs to develop diverse talent pool and expertise in this semiconductor-enabled IoE and artificial intelligence. Courses on fundamentals of semiconductor, in particular IoE and AI, needs to be introduced at the high school level and two-year college level. Vocational schools and training centers really need semiconductor-oriented technical skill development. I'll not share this. These were some thoughts I was collecting on curriculum changes. So for Bangladesh to really move up, it really needs to, it is essential, it builds a KAIST-like institute, but not the KAIST-like institute of the 60s. It needs to be an institute aligned with the fourth industrial revolution. So here is a proposal I want to make regarding this, and this is still thoughts in progress, is to create an institute called iBase IoE. So it would be the Institute of Bangladesh Academy of Science and Engineering with IoE as the basis. The institutes should have centers of excellence in various regions of the country, preferably located close to academic institutions, recruit full-time qualified expertise that will develop talented manpower for Bangladesh. And the talented manpower should be drawn for engineering as well as non-engineering background. Explore partnerships with KAIST and US entities, explore and research various aspects of the state-of-the-art semiconductor-enabled IoT, semiconductor systems and systems architecture, artificial intelligence, develop various industries that can ultimately build capabilities and products and improve quality of life in Bangladesh. This institute should identify target applications, application areas and technologies, and then utilize these capabilities for various industries, including architecture, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, transportation, financial institutions, education, governance, and find solutions for various natural calamities. But the institute needs to make every effort to take advantage of diverse expertise of NRBs to identify areas of focus. It should be multidisciplinary, create culture of innovations and inventions. In the first phase, it should undertake system projects and build embedded systems, and also include ability to build manpower and infrastructure for full chip development, and that manpower can, or the human resources that they develop, can take a full chip design from conception to taping it out. It should also have the ability to spin off startups. Institute working with universities will explore possibility of setting up and running university R&D fabs. However, there is one part that this institute also needs, or this institute, a group of institute needs to address, and that is bridging the gap between the human resource output of the education institute versus private sector job growth. Private sector job growth in the fourth industrial oriented private sector will take time. So in the first 10 years, this institute should be absorbing the graduates that our reformed education institutions will produce. And then these resources will become think tanks and develop various aspects of things that is needed for the Bangladesh 4IR infrastructure development, resource management, resource development. And as the private sector expands and grows, it can then have a pool of resources already developed, and then they don't have to wait for resources to be developed to really get into the fourth industrial revolution oriented private sector. So this becomes a conduit for the skilled workforce, and then that will over 10-year time frame will create a balanced scenario where the universities are producing graduates and they can be absorbed by the local private sectors. So I think that's the talk, and I just in a few minutes do a summary of the various components of the work in Bangladesh. First, government. What is very important, the non-political appointments, academia are done similarly for advanced research leadership. A task force needs to be built to develop vision and strategy for semiconductor-enabled fourth industrial revolution. The infrastructure, investments, incentives, new laws to prop private sector and research institute needs to be done. And it has to invest heavily and build semiconductor IoE-oriented research institute like KAIST. It needs to incentivize multinational companies to build capabilities in Bangladesh. For education institutions, we talked about curriculum changes that needs to happen, but it should leverage diaspora and expertise of reputed international universities to figure out what would be the best curriculum change. It needs to increase BUET caliber engineering universities in various parts of the country. Introduction of semiconductor fourth industrial revolution concepts for secondary school and vocational training centers. University collaborations with various reputed international universities, including joint research. Advanced R&D fabs and labs development. Faculty promotion needs to be tied to publishing and in leading international journals, and a culture of innovations and inventions need to be fostered. It should explore ways for faculty to gain industry experience at companies in US or even in local Bangladesh market. For private sector, as we talk, massive private sector investment, but it has to be aligned to the fourth industrial revolution, and ROI needs to be long-term. Entrepreneurs to form product-oriented companies with government incentives and not just design services companies. It should look into ways to acquire relevant startups in US and expand in Bangladesh. For the diaspora, it needs to continue to build and increase expertise for the diaspora and increase influence within their work institutions. And that will create an ability to influence things in Bangladesh, create or use existing organizations to form a think tank and that will develop engineering and science curriculum changes for Bangladesh. It should form entities that will offer virtual, modern, IoE-oriented semiconductor training courses, seminars for universities, R&D centers, and companies located in Bangladesh. Create a fund that can be used to offer limited time scholarship for students, teachers, professionals in Bangladesh to come and participate in universities or R&D center research and or product development. It should encourage and fund Bangladesh private sector and government in private sectors and the NRB community to create AI and IoE-oriented semiconductor companies in US with significant Bangladesh presence. And faculties at various universities to create joint research projects with BUET, DU, and research institutes like IBase IoE that I proposed. So that's the end of my talk.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kader. I can tell you one thing. If you go to the just slide before, the diaspora slide.
Just 1 second.
Audience, yes, I'm going to actually throw the questions to Dr. Kader. First of all, the BRAINSTEM, one of the major objectives, when this April we started, is essentially to actually come out as this think tank, an influential think tank which can actually bridge the North America as well as the Bangladesh and obviously this can be mimicked elsewhere also, right? Like, and another thing is the virtual. In 2016, actually, I developed the first the VFab lab, which is the virtual clean room to get training. Today, it's actually used by more than 2,500 users all over the world, especially in the US. So I just wanted to let you know, the the Bangladesh actually can put the boots on the ground, and if they adopt what you are suggesting, we'll be able to also run. Thank you so much. So we're going to take questions. So audience, please, that you can unmute yourself, introduce, and ask questions.
Hello. Um, Thank you very much indeed for your excellent presentation, and especially the last parts of guidance and perspective for Bangladesh and some other points. I just request Professor Mustafa to arrange and take request you for another time so that you can present only the last few parts in more detail so that it can be like a more guidance for Bangladeshi researchers and policymakers and others. And these are the excellent, good points and genuinely a wonderful presentation. I thank you very much. I have no question, but I just like to thank you for your nice presentations. Thank you.
To just mention what Mustafa also said, there are quite a bit of effort by various entities in US, both for virtual courses and or the various think tanks. We really need to figure out a way of a collaboration amongst those entities and then come up with a proposal that can then be offered to the various people who are also thinking likewise in Bangladesh, including people in the academics and some of the companies that have already started. The course part of it, and I really feel that it will take a while, given the bureaucracy and all the stuff, to really bring about a curriculum change. Because I feel curriculum change has to be done even at the secondary school level. But we can, all the people who are working on it in US and in Europe and others can really jointly work together to come up with a proposal that can then be used as a discussion with the community in Bangladesh. And for the courses, I really think we need to bring about a multidisciplinary courses that will involve not just engineers, but also physicists, chemists, material science engineers, to come up with what would be called a fourth industrial revolution oriented courses, right? So that this is something that Bangladesh does not have. The universities have courses in semiconductors and others, but a course more aligned with the 4IR is something that we here could come up with and then offer as virtual courses to the Bangladeshi community.
Assalamu alaikum. Professor Mustafa, this is Shahid Tanveer. I'm joining from Dubai, originally from India, but I have a lot of friends, colleagues, professors from Bangladesh that I benefited from. It has been a great honor to listen to Dr. Khader and to know that such great minds are contributing to a great deal in an industry which is growing by leaps and bounds. I'm involved in smart cities for more than a decade now, in Dubai first and later in Riyadh. And just so everybody knows, Saudi Arabia has also launched a national semiconductor hub recently, wherein they're trying to also develop the fabless industry. I took a course in VLSI almost 30 years back and also designed an IC chip. But obviously there was no industry, so I ended up, doing my work in a different field, which is IT. But coming back to the point, I think there are a lot of insights that Dr. Qadir has shared. And since I'm seeing the applications of fourth industrial revolution technologies, the focus on data being the new oil, you also talked about semiconductor design focusing on Internet of Things, Internet of Everything. I think these are great directions in which a country like Bangladesh with great talent can aspire to be a leader. And I believe very strongly that those great minds who are sitting in the US with your collective talent and experiences, if they could be a platform to cater to, to complement, because obviously changing governments and policies in existing colleges and universities is not easy. So therefore, an alternative platform that could allow these students to still learn while the curriculum is being, developed or being changed with the current political situation. I think that might take a bit longer than it would have taken before. So my recommendation would be that there should be an alternative platform that could benefit those who are aspiring to learn and enter into this field. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
So I have a comment for you, and that is, you mentioned about the activities in Dubai and Saudi Arabia, right? So, but I want to take it one step further. How can Bangladesh tie in to the things that are going on in Dubai and in Saudi Arabia that can allow Bangladesh to benefit from investments from these countries? And also, as they build their infrastructure there, how could Bangladeshi talent play some role in those efforts?
This is excellent. So thank you. I think we need to discuss this offline, because obviously I have a lot of ideas. Hopefully with Professor Mustafa, we can discuss this, and maybe we can have a separate call. Thank you.
Just as an addendum, that I was a founding faculty in KAUST, and I spent there 10 years before I joined Berkeley as a professor. And I am very much aware of the Semiconductor Initiative of Saudi Arabia, and because I was involved in the beginning part, and I also served as in the IIT's International Advisory Board for 3 years, and at that point I was lead for their semiconductor, so that was back in the time for the pandemic, and I kind of know about how they formed their the strategy for that. I just would like to give you 2 pointers. Just with Purdue University, Indian government is actually sending, so we have made a contract. In the next 5 years, Purdue University will be training 60,000 Indians. And all of them not will be here. Some of them, majority of them are going to be remote. Not all of them are going to be degree seeking, but that's the way that they're trying to actually put together the pipeline there. And they believe that, they used to say that one of the languages they know from the very beginning is programming language. So they believe that they will be able to connect the AI dots with the human, the interfacing. The other part is in context of the Saudi Arabia's involvement. This is it's for Dr. Khader. I think that's going to take a much longer time, because these kind of mega projects they always take, but they actually need to have the right people with the right the passion, as in South Korea what happened, VIP, right? So one was the P, the passionate people. So they need to actually drive it, because I still remember that when I was in KAUST, and I was one of the highest performing faculty members there. And I was also the director for the whole, faculty director for the whole admissions in KAUST. And it was very difficult to convince them that we should be getting more and more students from countries like Bangladesh. And so there's tons of different reasons. So that's why, but I do think that we should actually be having chat, and we should be having discussions and strategies that how we can convince them and to change their mind. Okay.
So, Dr. Mustafa,
yes.
So if India is able to get 60,000 people trained through Purdue universities, why can't we have a smaller scale, but similar training aspects with Bangladesh?
Yes, so we are actually, I am, 2 years back when I joined Purdue, so I was tasked to launch Purdue's all the semiconductor initiative, including the master's program and so on and so forth. So I actually launched 7 programs, and 7 of them, they basically have thousands of certifications which have been rendered already. So what is going to happen is like we actually started a program with BUET, okay? And then we realized that BUET is asking like, it was kind of like repulsive, I would put it this way, unfortunately. So I visit Bangladesh every year 3 times. November is my next time I will be going. So we have now actually broadened our horizon. We are bringing Military Institute of Science and Technology in the fold. We are reaching out to the private universities because we cannot just wait. And like, the other public universities also, there are low hanging fruits that we basically need to actually get involved. And I'm going to do everything because people need to hear you. People need to hear your vision, and you do have point by point strategies, which is going to be very, very useful. And this is our home task.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. More questions, please.
I have a quick question for Dr. Khader. My name is Muttalib, and I'm from Florida. So you mentioned that changing the curriculum would be very difficult long-term process. I'm hoping that the initiative that Dr. Mustafa said will maybe change the BUET curriculum, or not change, but allow the BUET students to, or similar students, to gain that expertise from virtually from somewhere else. What is going to be difficult is your proposal of changing it at the secondary school level. So, there is this National Skills Development Authority in Bangladesh that has some kind of a certified course in vocational training in both computer-related things and other areas. And they are absolutely outdated, as you now point out. So is it possible that if somebody can develop a curriculum at the secondary school level, and we allow our secondary students, we run a vocational training type of thing for very low privileged students. Is it possible that if you have a course that can be accessed virtually, then at least we can start this process for secondary school students, because they will be the worst loser. By the time they graduate and we wait for this change in curriculum, they will be total wastage. So I'm asking whether it's possible to develop that kind of secondary school level curriculum here, provide a virtual course, and allow our secondary school students, whoever might want, to join it at some level.
So I really think that as a first step towards any curriculum changes should be virtual courses. It has to start off somewhere, but virtual courses that can be offered to general students to students in general, secondary school students, and a part of it can definitely be developed for vocational training centers, because one of the things that Bangladesh I have seen being thrown is to build semiconductor packaging manufacturing capabilities and all that. And for that, I remember there was one person who wanted to really explore that, and I then sent him a video of a packaging manufacturing company from China, where they had done a detailed video of from beginning to end, and the amount of equipment needed, the expertise that is needed for even just technicians. So Bangladesh, if they think they will really leverage technicians and others in fields related to semiconductor or even semiconductor low-end semiconductor manufacturing, then we need to build a technical workforce. And that technical workforce will probably have to come from vocational training centers. So I think I do feel that I agree that it will take time to make those curricular changes, and given the bureaucracy involved in making those changes. So, but if students can be reached through virtual absolutely we should take that as a very high priority objective and work towards that, right? And we could classify it: vocational training courses, secondary students courses, and then university level courses. And some of these courses could be just introducing people to what it means to be part of this fourth industrial revolution. I think that the country as a whole, there needs to be an expansion of or expansion of the knowledge base related to this, right? And by the way, vocational training and secondary school training has to reach the very deep places in the villages in Bangladesh. We really need to build up the, call it the genes of the country towards this 4IR. For example, somebody who's involved in agriculture really needs to understand how he could benefit from artificial intelligence oriented solutions for agriculture, using artificial intelligence to increase the productivity and things like that. Same thing with healthcare. So there is the school system that needs to change. It'll take 10 years. But during these 10 years, we really need to figure out how do we still build up the capabilities in Bangladesh and educate the people in Bangladesh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly the point. I think if there are courses available, virtual courses available, then we can mobilize students to join them. But the first thing has to be a small scale startup of the virtual training centers.
So, yeah, so Dr. Kadir and Professor Muttalib, I would like to actually make two comments to give you some perspective. So one is that this last year summer, I with the support from Intel Corporation, I developed with 7 institutions in US and 3 companies, ASML, Intel, and Tokyo Electronics Limited, a course that is actually for Semiconductor 101. It's a series of courses. So the first one was Semiconductor Fabrication 101. And in the last 10 months, we have more than 10,000 of certifications provided. It's a virtual and free for all course, by the way. So now we have actually, because of the the interest of the Japanese government, we basically translated that into Japanese as well as with the Japanese subtitle. So it is actually for the for pretty the basic state to the, then it's taking to the little bit deeper. So I will, this is actually a good pointer. This is now, I will be working with the here as well as in Bangladesh to see that if as an to starting point to translate that also in Bengali and to the level where it can be accessed. Now, why? Because in Bangladesh, there is a school online based like the Khan Academy. It's called the 10 minutes 10 minutes learning. So this is actually a very famous one, very popular one. So these are the the different venues, and we need to actually connect all these dots to get going on this. While as Dr. Kader has correctly pointed out, that the curricular development and upgrading and everything, UGC, the whole the Board of Education, it's just a lot of bureaucracy. We can work with that, but we cannot wait.
So the course that you mentioned,
yes,
that you offered to SML and others, can we take that course,
yes,
create a version that is, it has to be really a little bit more watered down version for the vocational training centers, right? Those are
yes,
those who have not yet graduated from high school. Let's say they're up to 8th grade or something, but that those who are interested in becoming skilled workers as technicians. So a version of that targeted for the Bangladeshi audition, if you could look into that, or no, we could create a forum to take your courses and see how we could really make it very quickly available. And I'm not sure how much the Khan Academy would be willing to port this, or would they want some leverage on it? I don't know. The Khan Academy is the Salman Khan's academy, right?
Right. So we do have a Bangladeshi analog, it's called the 10 minutes education.
I
So
see.
they are very famous. So we can already work with them, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll definitely take it as an action item.
That would be wonderful. I mean, we run 4 schools for low income children, and they are graduating from high school right now. So
Right.
we don't know what to do with them. If there are courses available that are accessible from Bangladesh, I think a lot of us would be interested in that one. So please keep us posted. I don't know how to remain posted. I don't know how to link it. So if you can send me links, or
Yeah, I
that's
will.
a little bit more advertisement, I guess, because we don't know about those opportunities.
I think like, in semiconductor, Dr. Kadir also knows that we do have a big chunk of our professionals as well as academics. As of now, what I have identified is there are approximately like 430, the NRB academics in STEM, and a significant portion is actually in semiconductor, the general area of computer science, as well as like, the AI and electronics. So we can definitely get them. And Dr. Kadir, I would like to actually give you a good news that as you mentioned about the agriculture and AI, we are going to have a panel discussion scheduled in November or early December in this BRAINSTEM forum. Definitely on that one. That's actually working on.
So I had a question. This is Khandker Nazrul Kader. I had a question. So, so data is new oil, but all oil need money. So my question is, if you want to have something like this KAIST in South Korea, I mean, a lot of the programs are lower cost, but if you really need a much more extensive approach and initiatives, something like KAIST, it will cost a lot of money. So my question is there some estimate of what it may cost and what ways there may be to fund such things? Because after all, Bangladesh is not so still money-wise, it's not going to be an easy task. So I was wondering if that thought has been put into this.
So there are some efforts that was done over the last 2-3 years where the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce was working with some of us in the Bay Area and with the government to come out. And they created a few 100-page document ultimately on what needs to be done, various amount of money that has to be invested. So I believe that it needs investment, but it doesn't need a one-shot investment. It can be done in phases. However, we also need to keep, this is why I wanted to share the South Korea aspect. When South Korea created KAIST, South Korea was a nation in poverty, but they still was able to create the KAIST structure. That KAIST transformed South Korea into a major economic hub, right? And major center of excellence and innovations, right? So what I really think Bangladesh really needs to do at the government level, at the academic level, and with the private sector, they need to form a team that can go to South Korea, spend some time with KAIST, discuss with them, and maybe even get their help in what needs to be done to really set up an institute like a KAIST in Bangladesh. I had actually mentioned this to the MCCI members. One of them said that he has connections with South Korea. He'll try to go and visit, but I think it's not a one-person effort. It needs to involve even people like Mustafa, right? So who has had experience with some of that. So we really need to go to the countries who have done it, right? And especially South Korea was a very good example because they were worse off than what we are today in Bangladesh.
Yeah, so and that's a good point, except that so we can go to South Korea and we learn that, okay, it's going to cost this many $100 billions. And then the question comes is, how do we fund that? Oh, by the way, I didn't mention, so that was a very good talk. I learned a lot from your talk. Thanks.
So this is something that needs to be really discussed and thought through. But for I feel that not investing is going to cost down the road. So there's a cost of lost opportunity. So that has to be weighed in as they look into the economic aspect of things, right? So but it's a good point. It needs to be looked through. But my belief is that I see so much of the money floating around in Bangladesh, right? So So why would it not be possible to get the money?
Well, that's the
Well,
big
you know
question.
that the NRB is actually, we make a lot of contributions financially, both from the Middle East as well as from the North America. And obviously, that, let's give you an example, a perspective, okay? So when KAUST in Saudi Arabia, when it was established, so we had 9 research centers, and this is the world's best academic infrastructure they have. There is no doubt. I have been in many schools, so kind of know. So they spent $20 billion. And out of that $20 billion, it was obvious, like, the at least $5 billion was completely wastage. So if we take that out, in a setting like Bangladesh, if we are very careful, we can actually go and do it, like, to start with, like, with a sort of like $100 million project in a sense. But let's put it this way, that that Dr. Kader, that Guangzhou in South Korea and many other, like, the provinces that they have, they also actually distributed this kind of skill development program in a sense, like, that. So, and then KAIST is sort of like their MIT, and Seoul National is their Harvard, right? So that all merge into that. So I think with a public-private partnership in Bangladesh, as an example, like, that if we would like to get access to many of the synopsis tools, right? Why, like, we have been working, like, we work with BUET, why it should be that kind of bureaucratic, and why they won't be sharing with private universities if private universities also chip in the money, right? There's no, it just doesn't make any sense for us. So sometimes we have to be a little bit tougher, and, like, and that's why this kind of think tanking influences, they are very useful. More questions, please.
So Mustafa,
Professor
just
Mustafa.
as a side comment, when you have that AI and agricultural seminar in November, if you could send me an invite, I'd love to attend.
Sure, I will. From now on, I will keep you in that invite list, so whatever happens, whenever your time permits, please join. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, same request from me as well.
Okay.
So please do involve me in any future seminars and awareness sessions. Would love to join.
Okay.
The last point I want to say from my side is that from my experience, I know a lot of people who are from engineering background, but when we talk about the latest and the greatest developments in the field of technology, many of these people, despite their engineering background, have absolutely no clue what is going on in specific industries. And so therefore, I think awareness sessions are also key, even before the courses are made popular. The other point is in the context of especially Bangladesh, there's a lot of untapped talent, especially when we talk about these madrasas, where students go and they become a burden on society. And so ideally, there should be an opportunity where these people who have absolutely no skill set to create revenue and feed themselves and be able to contribute to society. So ideally, they should be able to also become part of the new talent pool by creating specific courses for them so that they can also contribute to the economy of the countries. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank Dr. Kader for a very excellent talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mujib, you at some point unmuted yourself. Do you have a question?
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Thank you for the great presentation. So I work for Intel. I live in Oregon. And so I was very much interested to what Dr. Kader was presenting, especially when you involved the context to Bangladesh. So I have a simple question that there is a recent, a political change in Bangladesh. After that, Dr. Kader, did you receive any kind of contact from the government, or do you have any update from the government that what the plan that you proposed here, the government, it is to the government, or they have some positive attitude towards your plan, something like that? Any update regarding that?
So what I discussed here, it has not been shared with anyone. This is the first time, basically on the thoughts regarding Bangladesh, that part of it I have not really shared in such detail with anyone. So, and then, no, there was, I think back in first half of the year, there was a meeting with MCCI, the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce, where they presented a document based on various inputs they received from us and their own thoughts. I did not attend the last meeting, but because I had disagreement with the direction they wanted to pursue. So, but I don't have any further contacts recently.
I would like to give an update for both for Mujib and also Dr. Kadir and the audience. So, as you know that the current administration under Professor Yunus, so Professor Yunus has appointed Dr. Debapriyo as he's to put together a white paper on the economic condition of Bangladesh. So I actually attended a few meetings in that one. And so I specifically pitched for semiconductor, AI, bio, and robotics, just to let you know. And I think that, and in addition to that, I am in the process to reach out to both of our very young, I consider them as my icon, Nahid and Asif, because they are the two advisors. Asif is actually the in charge of the youth development. So that's where the vocational training and all those kind of things that's going to be very useful, as well as the Nahid is in charge of the information telecommunications, which basically oversees a lot of the part of the science and technology. So we are in the process of trying to reach out, and when that happens, that connection is established. I will make sure that Dr. Kader, you have the opportunity to actually present, because they really look for this kind of things where, as you say, the visionary people, the passionate people.
Yeah, so we look forward to how things would be proceeding in the coming future. One part that has been a concern from my perspective, there are some companies that have started in Bangladesh, like Ulka Semi, Neural Networks, Prime Semiconductor. The issue, I think there's nothing wrong with that. You have to start somewhere, but it is predominantly design services. And design services, many things can happen with it. Consider if you were working in design services. So you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, and you are a graduate from an institute like BUET. After 2 years, you'll get tired of it, because there is no scope for any chip development or anything related to AI or anything like that, right? So they lose engineers. That's one thing. And secondly, the design services can only be a few $1 million industry. Maybe it can reach $100 million. Maybe. That's still questionable. However, the services you provide is to TSMC and others, which does not serve the Bangladesh local market. Yeah, it gives some jobs, but that's it. And secondly, the lesson from India, they had invested heavily in design services, and now they're scrambling to really build a more product-oriented culture, right? So, but the problem is some of the government officials, at least in the past, they were influenced significantly by these few. So they were really pushing university education to provide more students with design service background, as opposed to what we need for the 4IR.
And that's actually the Dr. Kadir, as you have mentioned, because you are a practitioner, right? So you came from these schools where you actually you have used that skill into practice. But in Bangladesh, that those things are kind of missing. So this is exactly where, during this whatever we call it, the revolution, I call it, during July, August timeframe, the way that the NRBs have been involved, we have nearly 150 million NRBs. So I'm 100%, we are sure 15 million actually. So 6 million of the NRBs, they were heavily involved in this. So now is a time that the NRB actually can take some of these topics and they can push for this. So this is actually what will happen. Definitely.
Very good.
So I'm not sure, but it's already the 9:39 for Dr. Kader. He is with us since he's 8 o'clock, and also in Bangladesh it's 10:40 nearly. So having said that, Dr. Kader, I will keep posting you, and please join us. And I'm pretty sure that also I will be organizing some meetings if your times are available, like on some of these strategies to execution, just not only brainstorming, but how we can actually then we're gonna get the right people. Having said that, thank you so much for this is a really the visionary talk, which is kind of reminding me of Kai-Fu Lee in China, what he is doing for AI, as you know.
Yeah. Mustafa, just to make sure, thank you for arranging this. This was really very good, and for the opportunity to talk to multiple people. This is a very good effort, and I look forward to future events.
Sure, thank you.
And we need to see you more involved and to really put people together so that we can figure out and chalk out a program for Bangladesh.
Sure, no problem.
Thanks,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Mustafa.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye,
Good
everyone.
talk. Thanks.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.